Welcome to Episode 1 of Rise of the Ruticai, Season 1, Into the Darkness. Rise of the Ruticai is a dramatic reenactment of our role-playing adventures, involving voice acting and the retelling of tales that happened in our sessions. The stories you will hear on Rise of the Ruticai are exact recaps of our sessions, every detail having been recorded. Thus, Rise of the Ruticai is not an embellished story, but one that exactly represents the actions of role-players through the course of a campaign. If you like the content you're hearing on Rise of the Ruticai, be sure to like the video and subscribe below, and hit the bell so you'll be notified each time a new video drops. Without further ado, I bring you the first ever episode of Rise of the Ruticai. After a stormy and windswept end of the year, Yoth, Ivar, and Raziel celebrate New Year's Day on chairs outside of Raziel's kin house in their hamlet of Suebia. It's getting cold again. It'll be freezing by nightfall. Vinoblad could have made us a better feast after all the work we did. If I have to eat Signy's deer sausage again, I think I'll vomit. And Arnie's ale? I wonder how much horse sweat he puts in it. Maybe it suits us. Piss drink for a piss tribe.
The ale is fine, Yoth. It gets the job done.
What did you slags get for the tax this year? I made them this helmet. Yoth reveals to them a sturdy steel helm, obviously not his own work, but probably purchased from a traveling Ruticai merchant. Yoth's part in making the helmet wasn't the forging, but the carving of 3 magical runes of protection, which are neatly scrawled across the brow of the helm. I spent all year carving these runes. I'm sure it will serve to protect some Erever twat's pretty head soon enough.
I've been working with the loggers. We've made several wagon loads of good lumber. What about you, Raziel? I know you've been out hunting.
Yes, all the meat we have brought back, we have been saving the pelts, and the good bones and antlers. Rangior has been helping with the tanning, of course.
Of course, the old drunkard. No doubt keeping his share.
A craftsman has to be paid somehow. I certainly do not have the coin for it.
Certainly not.
Hey, Raziel, do you see that up there?
Ah, the youth of the tribe. At your age, I had already been on 4 raids and had seen the world from Suebia to Thrakar to Saruman. When are you 3 going out of your houses to make something of yourselves, huh?
One of the elder tribesmen, who had just stumbled drunkenly out of Jarl Vinovlad's hall, crossed by the 3 as they sat in front of Raziel's kin hut. Get on, you old withered coot! Look at the life you gave us. This is your fault, not ours.
Bah! You'll just keep us as we are. I should knock you out for your disrespect.
The old man stumbled away to his house. In the small hamlet of Suebia, he lived only a couple 100 feet away, in the same house as his kin.
That old idiot. I'd like to see him try.
Ivar, shut up. Look up at the mountains. Look there. Do you see it? As the sun was setting to close a full day of drinking and revelry, they look up from their seats to the distant mountains north of Suebia as Yoth instructed, and they notice fires glowing faintly around one of the peaks.
Someone is out there. It will not be the hunters. They are all home for the feast.
We should go check it out.
Go out in the mountains at night this close to winter's dark? Don't be a fool.
I didn't mean go out at night, you misshapen pygmy. Don't call me a fool again. I know you're drunk.
We'll go out first thing in the morning and see what is out there.
Agreed.
Quite apart from their currently precarious condition, all understand that venturing out after nightfall, this close to winter's dark, is a fool's mission. A night's sleep comes with unease, knowing that something not of their tribe may very well be lurking in the mountains. January 2nd. Yoth, Ivar, and Raziel rise with the sun and make ready for their journey. I'd judge those fires to have been about 3 miles up, in the height of the mountains. We should be able to make the walk in a couple hours. The area around Suebia is heavily wooded, and is traveled through with no great ease. Thick brush and wild oaks dot the landscape that slopes upward slightly into the base of the mountains. 3 hours of walking leads them high into the mountains, where the trees grow thinner and smaller, but passage is no more easy due to the steep ground and loose rocks which occasionally tumble down the mountainside. Here they stumble across an unexpected scene, an empty work camp. Newly built as no Ruticai hunter has ever reported its presence before. A ramshackle wooden tower and crane straddle a hole some 10 feet in diameter, dug next to a large shaft of ice. Looking around, they see no workers, only evidence of recent activity.
This must have taken many workers.
It's shoddy work. It couldn't have been the Aravir. The three peer down into the icy hole and discovered a depth of some 30 feet already cleared, with scaffolding clinging to the hole in several places.
I think we should go down there and see what they're digging out.
I agree, but whoever is doing this could be back at any time.
Yes, I'll call us a guard. Yoth, moving away from the two others, begins chanting in the ancient language of the sorcerers. Soon after issuing his magical commands, a wild dog is called forth from the forest, evidently under Yoth's control. You, stay and watch. We'll be back soon. Ruticai warriors would normally be unnerved by flagrant displays of sorcery, but Razwil and Ivar have grown somewhat accustomed to their strange companion's eccentricities. Lowering themselves down by rope into the cavern, they discover that one set of scaffolding hides a small cave mouth just big enough for a man to pass through. The three light a torch and proceed into the depths. They follow a winding and narrow cave, at times sliding on their bellies to get through, until the passage terminates in an open cavern. Standing back to their feet, they wave around a torch. They see giant insects in the depths, skittering away from the edges of the torchlight. Such creatures do not concern them, as only certain kinds of giant insects are aggressive. Searching throughout the cavern, they find a wall made of ice, presumably the same shaft of ice in the pit 100 feet above. Leaning in close, they hold the torchlight to the ice wall and peer into the foggy haze. Cloudy images play tricks on their eyes, but in a moment, a vision crystallizes. Several feet into the thick, impenetrable ice, they barely make out what appears to be a massive, clawed foot attached to a beast otherwise out of their sight. It was clear now. The shaft of ice encased a monstrous Etten of great size, and someone was trying to free it. An Etten, a creature most foul. Such monsters as this dripped from the wounds of their god, Yatuna Amesh, millennia ago. They know neither life nor death, only hunger.
I know the tales Yoth spare me. Do you think that it's alive?
Ettins do not grow old, nor do they shiver in the cold, or suffocate from lack of breath. It is alive within. Whoever's doing this is trying to set it free.
Then we must warn the tribe. We need to get back to Seaspear at once.
As they emerge once more into the sunlit passageway, they hear Yoth's dog yipping and growling above. Quickly climbing up the 30 feet of makeshift scaffolding, they find a pack of wolves surrounding the dog, intent on making it their prey, food being scarce in the mountains at the approach of winter. Relieved to find only some wolves at the top, the three from Seaspear draw their weapons. Razwil throws his spear, hitting one of the wolves and killing it. As the slavering pack draws near, Ivar slices another who had drawn too close. Yoth calls his dog back and clobbers one of the wolves with a solid shot from his sling, shattering its skull. The wolves scatter, leaving their former prey behind after realizing the extent of the challenge before them. Yoth gathers the three dead wolves and sets about skinning the hides.
Yoth, we have to go. We don't have time for this.
Nonsense, Razwil. These pelts will make good payment to the Aravir.
Whoever's doing this will be back soon, and we have to warn the others.
Calm down. It'll take days to finish carving all that ice. The Etten doesn't change everything. We still have to pay our tax.
But they will find us.
Yoth, disregarding Razwil's plea, skins the wolves one by one. Yoth is skinning the third wolf when they all hear a large group of men coming through the forest from the north.
As I said, they return.
Get to the brush, quickly!
The three go into the woods, waiting for the men to step out into the afternoon light. At last they reveal themselves. A pack of some 30 pygmy, led by 4 Shemishans dressed in fine armor and wearing clothing and wielding the spears of a warrior. Shem, the ninth realm, is a vast landmass far to the north of Suebia, Shemishan being a catch-all term for the vast swath of cultures that practice various Shemitish traditions and religions. Pygmies, a diminutive race of men, are a frequent sight around Shemitish merchants and pirates, functioning as slaves and fodder. Pygmies are not usually led ashore in Suebian ports on account of their boorish behavior and morals.
There are too many to fight here. We need to go and get the other tribesmen.
There aren't so many. We could take them.
Better to be safe. We can kill them just the same with our tribesmates at our back.
If that's how you'd have it, then fine. But I don't see why we should share our glory.
You will have your glory, Ivar. Let's go.
The party had decided to flee before being detected, when suddenly they noticed the Shemitians' prisoner, a young girl from the village. Glancing among themselves, they all recognize her as Ingrid, the daughter of Brangior the Tanner. As they watch in disbelief, the Shemitians and their pygmy slaves push Ingrid over to a circle of rocks by the edge of the wood, near some trees whose bark reveals freshly carved symbols. Wordlessly reversing their previous decision, they motion among themselves with hand gestures to settle on a new plan, facing the Shemitians and their pygmy horde with the goal of rescuing Ingrid. Using stealth, the three move through the trees and shrubs closer to where the Shemitians had taken the girl. As they prowl closer, one of the Shemitians shifts his foot through the ground suspiciously where the three had slain the wolves earlier and discovered a bit of blood. He yelled out some words in his native tongue, alerting all the pygmies and the other Shemitians that something was amiss. The Shemitians and pygmies suddenly turn, draw their weapons, crouch down, and creep towards the brush, looking without success for any unseen enemy. The three Ruticai take cover in the trees and prepare for the inevitable battle. When the pygmies draw near, the warriors and Yoth leap from their hiding places and exchange javelins and sling stones with the pygmy skirmishers. Javelins sink into pygmy flesh, and stones fracture their skulls as the pygmies' javelins ricochet from the Suebian shields of the two warriors. Seeing 4 pygmies dead, the warriors charge the 4 Shemitians while Yoth orders his wild dog to attack. Ivar barrels forward into 2 heavily armored Shemitian spearmen, slashing and cutting at the weak spots in their armor. Raswil trades spear blows with the 3rd, while the wild dog leaps on the last, only to be impaled on the Shemitian spear. Yoth, seeing his friends outnumbered, swiftly summons spirits of the earth, which enter the minds of the warrior who had just slain his dog and cloud it with abrupt visions. By his 3rd sword stroke, Ivar had cut down one of the Shemitians with ease, but the second proved to be a much more capable warrior. Each path of advance was swiftly blocked by the Comitian spear tip. Raswil struggles to defeat his opponent as they trade blow for blow in a fight of attrition, spears clattering against shield, no strike landing home. With his incantation complete, Yoth smiles as he sees the spirits enter the mind of the 4th Shemitian, and he mouths to him, "Your friends will die. It's best to run." The thoughts echo in the Shemitian's mind as though they were his own, and he drops his weapons and flees. As this is happening, Ivar and his quarry circle one another, scanning for weaknesses.
You're not so bad, are you? Looks like they do make some fighters in Shem.
With a burst of speed, Ivar rushes the Shemitian, attempting to knock aside his spear, but failing, he is struck in the groin with the tip. Held at the end of the spear length, Ivar swings his sword around his head. Ivar's sword was the perfect length, and the arc of the blade slit the Comitian's throat, the head barely hanging on by a thin band of flesh at the nape. Both slump to the ground, Ivar badly wounded and the Shemitian dead. Perhaps emboldened by Ivar's killing blow, Rasawil brushes aside a spear tip with his shield and lands a deadly headshot, skewering his foe through the eye. The now leaderless pygmies flee into the distance alongside the last Shemitian who had been terrified by Yoth's magic. As Yoth rushes to treat Ivar's bleeding, Rasawil quickly surveys the rest of the battlefield before moving over to the trembling village girl. Ingrid had been left alone in the enemy's clumsy retreat.
You are the Tanner's daughter.
I am?
You were taken against your will. Now you are safe. Return with us to the village. We will be leaving after our breath returns.
My father will be angry with me.
You are expected to raise a sword as a warrior? Brangior, your father, is not a reasonable man.
Perhaps not, but he is my father.
As Rasawil comforts Ingrid, Yoth heals Ivar to thwart an otherwise certain death. "This is pretty nasty, Ivar. You're lucky I'm here. No one else in the tribe could heal this."
That's Shemitian. He was a worthy foe. I'm glad I got to fight him.
Ivar, quiet now. You have to be still while I stitch this up. Only magic can save a man from a wound such as this. I hope the spirits are willing. As Yoth completes his incantation, the spirits seem to take notice of Ingrid's change of fortune, and supply a similar reversal to Ivar and his wounds. Yoth smirks in accomplishment, as once again another owes him for his life. Yoth examines the symbols on the trees. He is the only one of the 3 able to read, but as he is unable to read exactly what these symbols mean, he insists the warriors deface them with their blades. With this task complete, the three return to Seaspear with Ingrid and a story of rescue. Back in the village, this story and the girl that proves it receive thunderous roars of approval from their tribesmates, many of whom were quite envious of the Shemitian slayers. As evening approaches, Yoth and Ivar retire to Ivar's kin house, and Yoth begins the slow process of healing Ivar's wounds with the help of Ivar's brother Denias. Raswil meets with Jarl Vinablad back at their mead hall, and accepts a mission to join a larger force to investigate the battle site at day's break. As darkness settles over Seaspear, a strong wind blows from the south, bringing with it the first biting cold of a young winter.